Hey guys, it's me, CT. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. I hope you had a good Tuesday. And I want to try something brand new, a new webcast here, just to talk about the national weather setup. We have some important weather that'll be impacting, especially areas of the South and parts of the Midwest as we head through the next couple of days. You can blame Mother Nature, but try not to blame me, the messenger here. What's happening in our atmosphere? The moving blue ribbons that you see on your computer screen right now represent the wind flow at about 5 to 6 miles high above the ground, and we are concentrating our efforts on both the polar jet, the one that's nosing from Alaska southward, cutting across the Pacific Northwest and across the upper Mississippi Valley. That big dip in that jet stream throughout the northern Rockies has allowed a huge dome of some Arctic cold temperatures to surge southward, not only in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but also the lower levels as well. And we have our subtropical jet, the one that is running over that orange area that you see running from California eastward, cutting across Texas, Oklahoma, and into Florida. And it's been that way for the last, well, really the last week. If you remember, after a big storm across the east for Thanksgiving, things really were quiet across much of the country, and it's because of our subtropical jet trying to push those mild temperatures eastward. Now, as we head through time, our big weather story over the next couple of days will be our Arctic cold outbreak, thanks to our polar jet stream shifting farther south, and that's going to shove some of those mild temperatures back over into the Gulf. And unfortunately, this process is going to yield some icy weather conditions anywhere from, let's say, Oklahoma through parts of North Texas, Arkansas, Northeast, into areas of Tennessee, Kentucky, and some spots of the Ohio Valley. So certainly not the best of news here as our Arctic cold surge will continue to drop its way farther south. Let's check or review real quick our temperatures from 4 p.m. this afternoon Central Time. It was 9 degrees in Lewistown, Montana. Lewistown, Montana has been in the single digits all day. We've had some cold north winds, keeping temperatures in the teens, running from Wyoming into the Dakotas. 12 in Douglas, Wyoming, 16 degrees in Mobridge, South Dakota. Check out Kearney, Nebraska. 4 o'clock, 30 degrees. Dialing back the clock about 24 hours, we were in the 60s across much of the Cornhusker State, and we're actually seeing some temperatures from this afternoon in the upper 70s, even some low 80s across central and southern Texas, so there's quite a temperature contrast that you see on the weather map. Now, dialing back to the northern Rockies and northern plains, if you think the single digits are cold, well, check out what's happening over north of the Canadian border, onto, of course, the Canadian side of our weather map. Temperatures at 4 p.m. this afternoon, 13 below zero in Whitehorse, Northwest, I should say in the Yukon Territory. In the Northwest Territories, Arviat, 18 below. Churchill, Manitoba, 20 below zero. Icy cold, barely warmer into the southern prairies, where Saskatoon, Saskatchewan ended up around 3 degrees at 4 o'clock, 16 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So certainly some icy cold conditions, and we have a high pressure ridge today that is shoving a lot of that icy cold Arctic air out of the Arctic Circle across Hudson Bay, south, cutting into the Great Lakes region and eventually across the northern Rockies and the northern plains. On to the U.S. side of the weather map. The leading edge of that Arctic cold air stems from roughly the Pacific Northwest and the Central Plains, and then south of that boundary. Notice, by the way, the clouds across the Baja Peninsula of Mexico, so the western part of Mexico that kind of jets out a little bit into the Pacific Ocean. Notice the clouds are running essentially from west to east, so that's spreading some Pacific air also into the southeastern U.S. So certainly some mild temperatures that we've been able to enjoy since Thanksgiving, but that, again, is about to come to an end here. Let's look at the weather map here as we check out the southeast radar. We've been seeing some spotty rain showers across Georgia and South Carolina, and we've also been dealing with a lot of snowfall, especially for the Intermountain West between the Sierra Nevadas through much of northern Nevada, northern Utah, parts of central Colorado, and also a lot of snow that has been developing since late morning Tuesday from southeast Wyoming into the Nebraska Panhandle through, let's say, the Sandhills of Nebraska, and some scattered snow showers across both North and South Dakota. And there's also been a lot of snow that's been developing across the Arrowhead of Minnesota, also across Wisconsin, upper and lower Michigan. But if you notice the green splotches on our graphic as we look at our radar recap from this afternoon, we've been seeing some rain showers across southern Wisconsin and southern lower Michigan. That's because the temperatures in the lowest mile in the atmosphere are generally above freezing. And we haven't really seen much precipitation since this morning across southeast Canada, specifically into southern Quebec near the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. We did see some rain showers across the Canadian Maritimes, but things have really dried out. And again, across the southeast U.S., things have been just wet, just some scattered rain showers. So that's what our setup has been looking like. Let's check out the weather map as we head throughout your Wednesday. And boy, what a cold setup that we'll have, as all those north winds will be pushing as far south as Oklahoma and parts of Missouri. This big cold front will also produce some heavy snows with the aid of a low-pressure system over Colorado. And that's great news for the ski resorts. We're also looking at a swath of snowfall from Minnesota through much of Wisconsin and into Michigan. Whereas if you're anywhere around Texas, along the Gulf Coast into Florida and much of the southeast U.S., you'll be basking in some warmth. Now, moving ahead to Thursday, notice the colorful map, especially from Oklahoma into Arkansas, southern Missouri. That's not good. What's happening is all this warm air that's coming from the south, out of the Gulf, is overrunning our very shallow layer of some Arctic air, and we have an icy setup that will be likely happening from, again, eastern Oklahoma through much of Arkansas, southern Missouri, so really south of the Interstate 44 corridor, and also along Interstate 40, especially between Memphis and Oklahoma City, looks to be pretty icy going through your Thursday. We will see a lot of rainfall, by the way, that will be developing across much of Texas into Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, cutting across the remainder of the Appalachians. But just cold conditions across much of the western U.S. and, of course, the entire north. Now, on Friday, our icy mess does shift a little bit off to the northeast, so from eastern Arkansas through much of Tennessee, seeing also a chance of some rain mixing with some freezing rain, also including parts of Kentucky, southern Ohio, and we'll be seeing a rainfall that'll be essentially traveling across the southeast U.S. with that Arctic cold front as it sweeps into the Gulf and the eastern seaboard on Friday. By the way, we'll have a chance of some rain and snow across Oregon and northern California with a new system that'll be appearing across the Pacific Northwest. And that system, by the way, on Saturday will generate some snowfall from Nevada across northern Arizona, parts of Utah, as well as Colorado, and we'll see some lingering rain showers on Saturday across the southeastern U.S. So it's really not the best setup as we look at the next few days, especially for areas of the south from Thursday into Friday. Now we have some winter advisories that we've been dealing with here that will continue through at least Wednesday, likely into Thursday as well over some spots. But winter storm warnings for many counties across Nevada into most of Utah, much of Colorado and southern Wyoming. We're also looking at a string of some winter storm warnings for most of Montana through North and South Dakota, parts of Minnesota and into Wisconsin. Watch out in those areas where some of the mountain peaks or the mountain passes will be dealing with about 1 to 2 feet of some potential snow in the central and northern Rockies. Out into the northern plains, about 6 to 10 plus inches of snowfall, especially for parts of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. And we also have a winter storm watch that's been posted for most of North Texas, most of Oklahoma, pretty much it'll be soon for most of Arkansas and also southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, and into western Kentucky because of the potential ice storm that we have on the way. And it does look like we could be seeing some freezing rain accumulations in areas where we have the winter storm watches exceeding 1/10 of an inch of rain, maybe more than a 1/4 inch in some cases. That could cause some power disruptions. And some of the farmers, by the way, out in central California, especially around the valleys, but even closer to the coast as well, will have to deal with a hard freeze overnight into early Wednesday as well as early Thursday, as our low temperatures are expected to fall back into the 30s. So certainly a cold setup here. Rainfall amounts, by the way, as we look ahead a little bit, will be quite heavy. That's another threat that we'll have on top of the freezing rain across some spots of the south. 1 to 3 inches of potential rainfall in the forecast through early Thursday morning. Let's look at some low temperatures here before I wrap up this webcast, and you can see lows in the Wednesday morning. 9 below zero in Lewistown, Montana. 0. Big Goose Egg in Mobridge, South Dakota. Kearney, Nebraska, 16 degrees, but we'll see plenty of warmth across the central and eastern Corn Belt with some 40s for lows, and then as you head into areas of the deep south, especially around eastern Texas, Giddings, Texas, 60 degrees, 64 for the overnight low in Hammond, Louisiana. And we'll be looking at some temperatures really not that much warmer, especially across the northern plains and northern Rockies for Wednesday afternoon. 4 below zero in Lewistown, Montana. 7 above in Mobridge, South Dakota. But we'll see plenty of upper 70s into parts of the deep south here as we head towards Wednesday afternoon. I'm just going to scroll through the graphics here. You can see lows even down in the minus 20s. That's not even including the wind chill across areas of Montana and into Wyoming Thursday morning. And then Thursday afternoon, we'll see our icy cold air mass dropping as far south as North Texas and Oklahoma. And that's really when the problems may start to begin as far as our icing setup. is for the south. So there is a big summary of what's going to happen over the next few days across the U.S., and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hope you enjoyed my webcast here.